Good afternoon and welcome to the Snooker Gym Live version 3 for the UK Championship week. Hope you're enjoying the snooker on the TV. Before we begin, make sure you like us, comment, subscribe. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers. If we get up to 10,000 today, I'll put some special videos up for you on the channel, some special instructional videos this week. We've only got 200 subscribers to go to the magical 10,000 subscriber bronze membership YouTube channel status, and share us as well. Share us wherever you're watching, let your friends know, spread the joy. The best question of today will get a special prize. We'll post this to you along with a lot of video that comes with the product. This is called the aim frame. It helps you learn potting angles in seconds. Very valuable for people who struggle with that part of the game. Just one other point, which is the Cue Action Trainer, which you may have seen or heard of before. It's been invitation only so far, but it gives perfect feedback. It's the quickest way to perfect cueing. And as you can see, the sensitive legs give very good feedback on tiny cueing errors. We've sold out of these, but I've decided to make 50 more, which will be ready in March. So let us know if you're interested, message or send an email through the website. Also, we have Skype training available and one-to-one training available for a few more days this year before I travel for the month of January and February. So let us know if you're interested in that. Starting with the questions, we had some very good pre-show questions, and I want to start with those. Make sure you wait until the end of the show to see the Best Question Award. The first question, and I'll refer to the computer list here. In fact, there's a testimonial first from Damien Reynolds in Dublin. So he says, last week's stream has helped me a lot. Can't believe how I'm hitting the ball now with screw back, and I haven't miscued yet. I can't go any lower, the slate is in the way. So that's all good news that you're hitting the ball better with screw back, and we'd love to hear more of these stories about the successes you have. First question comes from ViswaNath GummaRaju. I guess that's from India. I guess that's from India. Just interruption it. Is the audio feedback working on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
No camera.
Too bad. We'll just put the recording up. So, without proper initiation in the game and having played for a lifetime, a senior player, with every wrong move that's possible, how do you break through that negative muscle memory? How do you break through the negative muscle memory and install new habits? Well, I shared this idea with a client the other week. A little kid is like a speedboat. So they can chop and change and move direction and learn new habits and learn new behaviors very, very quickly. However, as we grow up and learn things and learn habits which are vital for life, we are like an oil tanker. So then it takes more time to change direction. So there are good and bad things in habits. If we pick up good habits, they're very difficult to change. And so someone who has a good habit would find it easier than someone coming new to the game without any habits at all. Consistency being a key in the game. So it's about recognizing what the previous habits are, how they're getting in the way of your good behavior and and the lessons you're learning at the moment, the principles, the good principles that you want to install into your game. And it's a question of just understanding, is there a conflict there? And we can go a little bit deeper into psychology about how to interrupt the old pattern, like scratching a CD or scratching a record. If you're around in the 80s, you know what a record is, being a senior player. So imagine scratching the record or the CD, it makes it impossible to execute the old habit. So in that case, you've got more chance then of quickly picking up the good habits. Okay, thank you very much. Dominic Bond from Leeds asks us, I have a few questions, Nick. What sort of rhythm should you have on the waggles and then backswing? So this is something that players don't often ask, and it's really, really important in terms of finding your own centre as a player, in terms of finding your own style and rhythm and tempo as a player. So what you want to do is develop a length of cue action and a speed of cue action that is about right. Now, what I see very often, especially these days, this is the era of the long backswing, where players are pulling the cue back too far on their cue action. And what happens is, usually the cadence of cue action takes priority in a player. So if they're pulling back a long way, they'll tend to speed up the cueing to fit their cadence like a metronome. Tick, tock, tick, tock. If the cue is too long between the tick and the tock, you get a very quick action. But look up, tick, tock, tick, tock. More smooth now, isn't it? Because it's shorter. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. So shortening the action is often a way to fit your cadence and your rhythm and your tempo as a player. So at the same time, you don't want to go too short, because then you have no feeling in the arm. You haven't confirmed if the cue is moving straight or not, which is the purpose of the cue actions, to know if it's moving straight before the final backswing. So I'll give you a couple of methods to learn what we call the IQ action. Now, I believe we had a question on this as well earlier on from Grzegorz. Is that correct pronunciation? Grzegorz. My mum's Polish, so she's giving me a bit of coaching here live in the room. So from Poland, he says, 30 break standard player have a problem with random eye movement. So we're going to tie these two questions together. And the eye movements, I'll give you two ways of executing the IQ action. Okay? So the IQ action means you want the eyes to be locked with the cue, to be in sync, in rhythm with the cue. So I'll give you two examples of that, and I'm going to point toward the camera. And in fact, I think you guys will find it easier if you keep the camera there. I'll go 90 degrees to the camera. Okay. So I'm going to exaggerate my head movements. Okay. Going for this red in the corner. So I'm going to exaggerate the head movements. When I'm looking at the white, I'll be here. When I'm looking at the red, I'll do that to show you that my eyes are lifting. Okay? So, two types of cue action. White, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white, red. So one full cue action per ball. The other main way of doing it is white, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white. So half a cue action per ball. What's really important is that when you finish the cue actions, and this is what stops people moving beyond 30 and 40 break up to 60, 70, 80, is that the eyes remain fixed at the front check. So you want the eyes fixed at the front check. That means you're checking that your centre of the cue ball and the correct height on the cue ball before the final backswing. So think of the cue action having two halves. One is the cueing action, then you have the front check where your eyes and the tip and the white are all in the same position. Then you make your backswing and then you deliver. Okay? The backswing eye movements and the delivery eye movements, that's a separate conversation. You need to get your IQ action set first. But what I would do is do this test, find an IQ action that you're happy with, red, white, red, white, red, white, and then stop. For 1 second, checking you're at the centre of the white ball. That's an exaggerated 1 second. Most pros have the front check less than that, although ding is about a second at the front check. And then just stand up from the shot and do that 10 times to get in the rhythm and the tempo of completing your cueing action before the front check. Because once you get into the backswing and delivery, which is pulling the trigger, it's too late to do anything. You have to effectively pull back and deliver perfectly straight. That's the psychology behind good aiming and cueing. Who else have we got? We have Ned Ren in China. He has some doubts on approaching. Now, before I answer that, I did have a look at your videos on your channel, Ned, and I have a couple of quick tips for you that I think will help the other viewers of the show. So, we've got your backswing on power. You were playing long blues. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate it on this green off the spot and exaggerate the mistake you're doing. So your backswing is too short and too fast, which is very common. So, for example, you're playing a 7 speed out of 10 to play the shot, and you're doing this instead of having a longer backswing under more control, and as you come back with more control, as you come back smoother, as the transitions are more gradual, as the cue slows down more gradually. When the cue stops on the backswing, imagine it's like a ball coming to a stop. Watch Ronnie, he's a great example of this. Watch the cue stop here. If we can zoom up close to the cue and the bridge hand, I'll just demonstrate that a couple of times. Okay, so backswing again, coming to a stop gradually. Coming to a stop gradually and pulling back far enough. And then starting slow and finishing fast. So we can go back to the wider view now with the camera. And I'll demonstrate that for you to see. So smooth backswing, start slow, finish fast. Okay, I hope that helps. So I'm going to demonstrate now the aiming method. Or rather the two options of aiming. If we just get the camera on this line here, it'll be easier to see what I'm demonstrating, which is, so I prepared this line a little bit earlier on, and this is the line of aim. This represents the line of aim, okay? And just move the camera a little bit to that side. That's better. So we can see that both feet are either side of the line of aim in this approach, and my eyes are on the line of aim. This is most important, okay? Most pros these days have both feet either side of the line of aim and are pushing this foot slightly to the side as they approach, almost like kicking a football. And their foot will be at a slight angle, most of them, as they approach. If you're using this approach, don't put both feet together, because you can't then move this right foot over. The left foot's in the way. You need some space to push that back foot over. The left-handed player, that's obviously the left foot. So what we want is to move the foot easily onto the line of aim, and then if you've got both heels together there, this right foot will be outside the line of aim, or the back foot will be outside the line of aim, which when the player is down will tend to cause an issue here with the hip being too close to the cue. Okay? So the other method is, and if we imagine, if I had a curtain here, so that all you could see was above the neck, then it wouldn't make any difference if my feet were here, would it? If I was approaching from here, my head is on the line of aim. That's the most important thing. So if you use this method, with the back foot on the line of aim, don't bring your head off the line. Pull it back like this. So this is more the 1980s style of approaching, and Steve Davis did this in the 80s. I admit I copied what he was doing. But ultimately, I and most players I know and have worked with have reached the conclusion that this is a bit more relaxed, a bit easier on the body. There's less tension, it's easier, it's more repeatable. And what players tend to do if they've got this method, yes, it allows the foot to step straight forward, but this extra tension can affect how the shot's played and how loose we are on the shot. And it can also, what players tend to do is they stop leaning over and they start from here. So they're not even seeing the shot properly before they approach. So choose between those two methods. Know that there are two methods, but the number one priority, again, imagine there's a curtain you can only see from the neck up. The head's got to be on the line of aim. That's your number one priority. What the legs do is secondary. Let's go to the next question. So this is Mark Falcon from Newcastle on Tyne. So you watched the Player of the Year award from our channel, and you noticed that the player found an improvement in the long potting by paying attention to his bridge hand being solid. So you've been struggling cueing across the ball for over a year, but you're 100 break standard, and you've also tried to make sure that the bridge hand is rock solid. Can something as simple as that be the key to unleash your inner Ronnie? Well, yes it can, and very often a player of your standard, if you've reached 100, potting isn't a problem for you. Knowing how to play snooker isn't a problem for you. Very often there's one thing holding a player back, but it's dangerous to import from another player the tip that worked from them. So, oh, this player did this, that must be the secret. Everyone is unique. It's like a car. If your car breaks down, I remember my car broke down once, and I took it to the garage. It had some really weird symptoms in the heating, and there was some noise coming from behind the dashboard, and the engine was getting hot, and then it was going cold, and there's probably someone on the show here who knows what was happening with the car. But I took it into the garage, and this mechanic diagnosed it in about 2 minutes flat. Unbelievable. And he said, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, but it's this, and it's a small part, but the labour's going to take 3 or 4 hours to do it. Here's your prescription, go ahead. And I'd have been there for years trying to work out what it was on my own. So the thing is, I had an expert diagnostician tell me what I needed to do. And then you could go away and do that with anybody. You could have done it with any garage. Obviously I did it with him. But the point is, an extra pair of eyes who's had the advantage of seeing a few thousand players as well can help you to save years off your learning curve, shave years off your learning curve. So if there's someone with experience nearby to you, and this doesn't mean a player, because very often players have become professional players by automating what they do, making it automatic. That means they can't deconstruct it, they can't unpack it, they can't explain it, because they're meant to be doing it. They're not practiced at explaining what it is that they're trying to convey to the player. So just be careful of that. Look for someone with experience nearby and spend some time and try and isolate, diagnose what it is, and then with your prescription it may be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things that you need to work on. I remember on this exact topic I had an issue about 3 months ago where I felt I was cueing across on long balls as well. I felt I was cueing across the shot and I couldn't work out what it was. I mean, bear in mind I've had about 35 years of trying to self-diagnose, 40 years almost, of trying to self-diagnose issues in my own game. And within a few minutes I was able to isolate that the V of my bridge hand was twisted a little bit too much, so the cue wasn't going through a straight V, the V was at too much of an angle to the cue, so it didn't feel as if it was sat square in the bridge. So to compensate, my backhand was going around a corner a little bit, and to compensate for that cueing error I felt that I was moving on the shot slightly with my bridge hand, and that's never happened. I'd made good habits out of those in my teens. But what I did was I practiced to find out, okay, what's the optimum bridge hand angle? We get the camera zooming in on the bridge hand, look. So cue up, nice and long, from different bridge hand positions. Until, now for me that's wrong, but that's perfect there. So now we can go to the wider view now, and that's a way of finding your it's optimizing your bridge V. And you can do that with the angle of the elbow, or the position of the left foot, or the position of the right foot, or the angle of the right foot, and see how that improves or reduces your cueing quality and cueing straightness and cueing control. I hope that helps. What have we got next? So let's go to live questions. So Abad, I guess that's Yusuf Abad, maybe from Pakistan. I also went and spied on your YouTube channel, and I saw some shots that you were playing, and I've got a little bit of advice for you. Now, your issue was, what's the best aiming method? Your question was, what's the best aiming method? So you said that the back of the ball method doesn't work for you, looking at the back of the ball, and you also said imagining a ghost ball, back of the ball meaning contact point on the pink or furthest point of the pink away from the pocket. You also said that imagining a ghost cue ball in front of the object ball in its theoretically correct position to pot the ball also doesn't help you that much. So here's the thing. Here's an idea to consider, to try on. Like you go into a shop and you try a jacket on. Try this idea on. 90% of your aiming is from peripheral vision. 90% of your aiming is from peripheral vision. It's not to do with how accurately your eyes can seek out the back of the ball or the ghost ball or the pocket. You do it with peripheral vision. Imagine that a player was down on the shot, okay? In fact, I've done this with a player, and you could even use, what might be even easier, is use a ball case, okay? So you could do one cue action, with the ball case in place, and then get a friend to just block your vision of the cue ball there, so they'd hold the case about here, so that you can't see the cue ball but you can only see the pink. And then do another cue action, or another cue action or two from here, and then another two only seeing the pink. It is impossible to stitch those two images together properly. So the brain, what that shows us is that the brain needs the peripheral vision of the other balls. When you're focusing on the white, your brain is seeing the cue and the object ball and the pocket. Even on a blind pocket, we talk about blind pocket shots from here. To cut the pink in here is a blind pocket technically, but peripheral vision, I can still see it. So knowing this helps us, and I'll demonstrate how you can prove this to yourself, but it takes the pressure off having to find the exact point on the object ball that you have to hit. Too many players obsess about that. It's not really that relevant. As long as you have a consistent IQ action that we discussed earlier, and that you're looking at a consistent part of the red, don't look at the shadows on the bottom of the ball or the reflections on the top. Look at the waistline. If we zoom up here, I want to show you something. So you can see there where my finger's going, you've got the waistline of the ball. You want to hit that waistline, and look, you can only hit that waistline, and you want to look there as well. If you're looking for the contact point on the object, well, you want to look at that equator. One point on the equator of the object ball will give you the correct viewing point. But as I said, the content of what you're looking at isn't that relevant. The most important thing is you have a consistent eye pattern that gives you plenty of time on object ball and cue ball. Most professionals spend the majority of their time looking at the cue ball. Most club players are spending all of their time looking at the object ball, because they're obsessed about the pot and aiming and getting the angle right. What they don't realise is that cueing is their problem. So the reason that the players are looking at the cue ball is you can't aim until you're in the centre of the cue ball, or addressing the correct amount of side that you've intended to strike. So because you can't aim properly or effectively unless the tip's in the centre of the cue ball, then there's no point looking at the object ball. That's why professionals spend most of their time looking at the white. But when you're learning the game, I do 50-50 between pink and white. It's a balance. It's a healthy balance, and I think that's a good habit to develop, and then over time you may end up spending more time on the cue ball, more eye time on the cue ball. So here's a test that we can do. So peripheral potting. So I'm going to play this shot without looking at the pink. I'm only going to look at the white. Okay, so I didn't look at the pink at all there. I'll do the same here. Red at all. So you do it again. Maybe a bit slower to reduce any aiming issues. Okay, wasn't looking at the red at all. And doing this drill for me helped give me a lot of potting confidence. When I was a teenager I used to do this drill quite often, and on long straight shots as well. And you'll be amazed how many shots you can put, as long as your cueing is strong enough to hit the ball where you're aiming, hit the white ball straight where you're aiming, then I think you'll be amazed at how many balls you can pot with your peripheral vision only. Then you're in a position where it's a bonus to put eye time on the object ball. That's a much different position to be in, having that freedom that you have a bonus rather than grappling to find the line of aim. So thanks for the question, that was a good one. And let us know how you get on with applying those answers. I was going to tell you one of your issue that you made. Yeah. So one of your issues why you have a problem with aiming is that you don't have commitment when you're hitting the ball. You've got a lovely approach to the shot, okay, and I'll demonstrate what you do. You have a lovely approach, nice stance, nice bridge hand, nice cue action, nice grip hand, but it all comes apart after you hit the ball. So you're down on the shot and then you kind of collapse and steer. You're looking to see where the ball's going and you're steering the ball with your cue somewhat. So I'll just exaggerate that again. So everything's nice about your approach, and then you're trying to steer it or look to see where the ball is going. So what I would do is have this mindset: when you miss, stay down longer. That's what Steve Davis and Sean Murphy are masters at. So everyone's going to miss. When you do, stay down longer than you normally would. What does that do? Gives you a chance to confirm if your cueing is straight or not. Because you don't finish the shot with commitment, you have no clue whether you deliver the cue straight or not. So therefore you have no clue whether you missed because of cueing or because of aiming. You have to remove cueing as a variable from your post-shot diagnosis. So you have to, if you want to be a better player, you have to get practiced at just freezing in that photo finish after the shot, no matter what happens. Best shot in the world or worst shot in the world. Your learning of angles will then increase exponentially because you'll only be making one mistake. Your cueing is good enough, your technique is good enough. If only you are commit 100% to a straight delivery no matter what, you'll win after every shot. You'll either pot it or you'll learn something. Either way, with a straight committed photo finish delivery, you will win something after every ball. If you refuse to do that and refuse to follow that advice, you won't get anything after any shot, so then there'll be no improvement. So I hope you follow that advice and let us know all your progress. So Ellen Razan, Zagreb, Croatia is online. So do you prefer the same flow speed of cue through the delivery? We've covered this a little bit earlier, but what I want to do is come over here. I'm just going to draw something on the notice, on the flip chart for you. So Alan, this separates regular 100 break players from players who will never break 40. So players who will never break 40, if we think of, that's the cue ball, okay, that's the length of the backswing, and that's the speed. So that's distance. Okay, that's the speed of the delivery. So the cue's obviously going in this direction, but as the speed increases, we'll go higher on this line here. So that would be 10 out of 10 speed, 10 out of 10 backswing. Okay? So you come back all the way here, and the club player over-accelerates the cue. All the acceleration happens instantly. They think they need to be at 10 speed immediately, and they do that. But what you want is that. This is what we call timing. Players panic that they're not going to hit hard enough, so they build up all the speed immediately, well before they hit the cue ball. for a sense of security that they're going to have enough speed in the shot, instead of committing to an acceleration, mentally rehearsing a smooth acceleration throughout the length of the delivery, like a plane taking off. It accelerates gradually, doesn't it? So instead of rehearsing that mentally, they just come up with a backswing that they hope will be correct, a backswing length they hope will be correct, and then slam the cue through. The danger of that is that by over-accelerating the cue, you can only do that by tightening the hand. If I tighten the hand, look what happens to the tip. Cue's moving all over the place. Look how little effort we need. If we just zoom up onto the butt of the cue here, that white nameplate there, look, I'm just touching the cue very gently, and look how much that's moving the cue. So we can go wider now with the camera to get us a greater sense of appreciation for the tiny impacts of force on the cue pulling it offline. That extra tension in the hand that comes from over-acceleration, that comes from lack of patience, will pull the cue offline every time. You might get away with it from time to time, but as the length of the shot increases, you'll be further and further away from the pot. So what we want is smooth acceleration, and I'll finish this off with an idea from Jack Nicklaus, which I took from his book, The Golfer Who Won 18 Major Championships, and I'll demonstrate it as well. So he said before every golf shot he would visualize three things. Number one, target. So he had the target for the ball. He'd visualize where he wanted the ball to finish. Ball flight or path was number two. So visualize where he wants it to finish. Imagine the path from where he is to where he wants it to be. And think just for a minute on the third thing. What would be the third thing? He would visualize this golfer, the best golfer in history. The swing required to achieve the flight of the ball. And not just any old swing, but the correct speed of shot, obviously, on the correct line, but also with the correct acceleration that allowed him to stay smooth and loose and relaxed, which allowed the club to stay on line. We have to do this because we're humans, we're flesh and bone. We can't tighten and get away with it. If we were robots, it wouldn't make any difference. You could deliver like this or this, the result would be the same. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. If we zoom up to the cue ball and the bridge hand, I'll demonstrate what I showed earlier again. So nice close up to the cue ball and the bridge hand. So we come back, allow the backswing to slow down gradually, and then the delivery is a mirror of that. Start slow and finish fast. Keep the camera zoomed in there. So we're going to play another one there. Watch the first centimetre, the slow centimetre of the delivery. And one more. Keep it zoomed in. Okay. So that gives you an idea of the type of smoothness, gradual acceleration that you need to have a chance of keeping the cue on the line of aim. Even the top players, look at this guy behind me, even he misses balls sometimes with the smoothest cueing in the world. we do that, as Jimmy White said in a very enlightened interview once. He said sometimes you miss not because your technique's bad, but because it's a difficult game. You know, it isn't easy to deliver the cue on the line every single time perfectly, but we do the best we can. Okay, then we have Mervyn Fernandez in Miami. My friend from the Emirates, when I lived there as head coach, we struck up a good relationship. He messaged me this morning, called me actually at 7 a.m, would you believe, and we discussed this idea of how do you stretch before a match or before a tournament or the day of a match. So I'm going to just demonstrate a couple of those for you, and what we'll do is we'll start with the hands, okay, because this is, and what I do is take the watch off while you're doing this. So we start with the hands. Stop what you're doing now unless you're driving or operating heavy machinery, and see if you can do this. Can you touch the hand onto the forearm there? That's as far as I can go without a helping hand. But I was inspired by my yoga teacher who was able to do this, and I thought, yeah, I'd like to be able to do that because I'd have a lot of flexibility in the hand then. And then you can go the other way and do this. And then here as well. And then you can also do this one. So you can't see what I'm doing yet, can you? But if I turn round, have a go at doing that. That makes you more supple and loose in the arms. Then we can, in the hands. Then we can go to shoulders. So I like to pull down on the hand there and just very slowly, very gradually, just lean over for a few seconds. Not until it's painful, but just until you can feel it pulling slightly. This keeps me supple in the neck and the shoulders, so that it's easier to move around and manipulate the shoulders when I'm at the table. If I come around here, I'll show you a couple of others that I do every morning. So I've been doing this since I was a teenager. I thought, what edge can I give myself over and above other players that would allow me to feel relaxed? Because I used to work full time in a bank, and that's a different environment from a snooker table, so I wanted to be prepared for snooker before I even went to the club and practiced my long blues until I annoyed the club owners by staying until 1 o'clock in the morning practicing long blues. So a couple of things to open out the shoulders are, you can use a wall like this and just go spread open. You can go the other way as well. You can also do this, and leaning forward as well. And then you can put your hands down here. You put the hands on the floor, Mervyn. Are you able to do that? Can you even touch the toes on the floor? There's a bit of a challenge for you. The other one you can do is here. And then the other way around. So that makes the stance much easier, and I've found that practicing this in yoga just prevents my body getting in the way between what I want to do and what the balls are actually doing. There's more of a direct link then between my mind and what the balls are doing. At the same time that you're doing these type of practices, it's useful to, I think, build up your body awareness, proprioceptive awareness, So when you're doing balancing exercises or stretching exercises, practice closing the eyes. So can you take one foot off the floor and close the eyes? Most people think, well, how difficult can that be? Especially when you're talking. But you should be able to hold that for 10-15 seconds or more. Looks easy, but try it and see how you get on. Let us know in the comments how you get on. The other sort of exercise is this sort of thing where you can, if you stretch forward like that on the tabletop, Superman position. I need a bit of help. And then close eyes again in that position. See how long you can hold that. And the final one, and if you can do that and hold your hands, close your eyes, sorry. So that sort of exercise just makes it a lot easier to do the stretch, makes the stretches required on the table a lot easier. Okay. Right, so I'm going to award the question of the day, question of the show award just in a minute, but just like to remind you before we begin to finish up that there are 50 Q Action trainers coming in March, so if you want one of those, let me know and I'll tell you if we've got any more available for advanced purchase. And we've got availability, a little bit more availability for one-to-one Skype training and training in this room. Should you want that before the end of the year, drop me a message and we'll have a discussion and see if you're a good fit for us to work together. And before we finish up, let's give this award. I'm going to give that to Dominic in Leeds about the Q Action tempo question, which I thought was great, and it allows players to get a lot of insight into finding a personalised way of cueing that is going to suit them the best. So, having gone through all the questions, live and pre-show questions, I'd like to thank you very much for tuning in. A couple of people I want to say thank you to. First of all, our channel supporters who have helped us publicise the event today, which is Venom on YouTube. Check him out, he makes fantastic trick shots, the best in the world. And Tequila, who makes fantastic compilation videos of the best players performing their magic. So go and check out Tequila. Also Mart, my fantastic brand new YouTube manager who's made a terrific impact in our channel over the last couple of days. We had a Skype training session this week and it evolved into a conversation about how to build the channel, and we spent a day and a half before our show improving everything. So we hope you like the new channel. Martin in the Netherlands has helped us a lot to improve everything in the channel, and we will continue to do so in the coming weeks and months. And then finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to a very special mum who's come over and helped me this week. So thanks a lot, Mum. Mum hug. She's supported me all through my career and even to this day. So a couple of words with the camera.
I know. Well, I'm very, very proud of my son, and I see what he is doing, and it's a fantastic job. And I'm not just saying it because I'm his mum, but maybe I am.
Thanks, Mum. So, thanks very much, guys. We'll based on feedback, do another show when we can. I do have an extensive travel schedule throughout December and January and February. But if we can do another show, we will do. Let us know your questions, let us know feedback. How can we improve? What can we do better? And remember to like us, comment on us, subscribe to us and share us. So that the difference in height that I played there was probably only 2 millimeters or so. This is the Snooker Gym Player of the Year for 100 break players. You come to a stop in a controlled way and begin the delivery in a controlled way as well.